Hey there, and welcome to the podcast Tiling Connect, hosted by Mark Moskwa. This show is designed to connect people with the best information intended to strengthen the business of tiling. To keep up to date with all the episodes, don't forget to subscribe.
Hey everybody, this is Mark from Tiling Connect, and welcome to today's episode. I have the pleasure and privilege of speaking with Byron Landeru from Waterproof Awareness, based in Melbourne. Going to dive straight in and get into it. Byron, thank you for making some time today and being a part of the show.
You're welcome, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Cool, buddy. Well, mate, we connected on LinkedIn. It was a pretty fierce and proactive connection, and I love that. Particularly, LinkedIn's just such an awesome platform, and obviously we have similar backgrounds, me in sales and tiling and stone, and we had a number of different synergies that popped up, and I loved your background. So look, if you could, I'm going to give you the floor. If you could tell us a little bit about you and where you're from, and give us a bit more of an idea of your background as well, that'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity. And LinkedIn is a pretty powerful tool to get to know, or affiliate with people, and grow your network. So, started school, went through school, bit disinterested, got into the trades like most, sort of no direction, fell into tiling, wall and floor tiling. And like the hard work, worked hard, developed a thirst for it, tried out a couple of different things, but tiling's where I landed, and got introduced to waterproofing through tiling when it was sort of came in around that 20 years ago in internal wet areas, and the prominency for it. And so based down in Victoria or Melbourne initially, but now I'm down on the surf coast, but travel pretty much all around Australia now with work. Cool. Spent 20 years on the tools till the body had enough. And, always sort of thought in the back of my mind, I've got these skills as a tiler and a waterproofer, but I don't have a qualification yet. Sparkies and plumbers, have a formalised qual. Why don't I? So, I was trying to seek out avenues in order to get a qualification, and contacted several trade schools. It was too expensive to get a Cert 3. Then I actually got introduced to, teaching for on-site sign-offs. Okay, so, recognition for prior learning.
Yeah.
I got introduced to teaching through that method. And it wasn't until I sort of underwent that process that I found there was a big missing link in what I was doing on the jobs and what I didn't know from my knowledge, and that was the codes and standards. So was pretty enthused to learn a little bit about that, probably body driven as well, mate. Starting to fail and, pretty hard work being a tiler on your hands and knees, and waterproofing, and got into teaching at trade school, and really reinforced that, a lot of us in the industry are making mistakes without being aware of it. And I suppose we're going to get through, more of this throughout the podcast. There's a big issue in the industry, and, education is at the forefront of that. So now 20 odd years later, that's primarily what I do is, help people improve their education in the construction industry. And first and foremost, put my hand up to say that, I've learnt from my mistakes. So, pretty qualified to help people identify what they are and how to go about fixing it.
Yeah, that's amazing. You've definitely got a depth of experience in the industry. I sort of did some really good research on your LinkedIn profile, and was impressed with your background, and certainly you are one of those people that obviously has a passion for the industry and loves what you've done, and you want to share more of that with the wider community and help educate trades around best practices and the most effective methods for achieving high quality.
Yeah, definitely, mate, and thank you for that. It's now being off the tools for a while and doing what I'm doing, on the daily, weekly attending leak inspections, which are primarily related around waterproofing.
Yeah.
A lot of it's internal and balconies. And, that's where tiling comes into play as well. These are under tile membrane systems, and, they're just common mistakes that I was making as well. And, what's alarming, and I'd say this with, all due respect, there were mistakes I was making 15 years ago. I didn't even know I was making them, so that, studying this for a while and the leaky building syndrome, which we're in Australia, it really highlights the fact that there's been lack of continual development in the industry and probably underskilled or undervalued importance for education.
Yeah. Look, it's a big problem in the industry. I mean, not to specifically target specific trades, because I think there's a bit of a mix here, right? I think everyone's involved. I don't think it's one avenue. There's an education piece, and then there's a trade piece, and then there's a builder piece, and but there's a big problem, and education obviously is a part of that issue. Is that there's maybe not enough education out there, or enough education that people can afford, or whatever the case might be. But there is a lot of leaking issues occurring, and have been occurring in the industry around Australia for a long time.
100%.
How do you go about? Where do you start? Like, I mean, how do you address this? I mean,
I agree 100%. We haven't learned from other countries' mistakes, so we've built very similarly to, how lightweight construction, Canada 40 years ago, significant leaky condo syndrome there. New Zealand have had this problem going on for, in the public spotlight for 20 odd years. We've known about it for 20 odd years, but I think it got swept under the rug a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it's coming to the forefront. To answer your question, it is all trades. Okay, it's not just related to waterproofers and tilers.
Yeah.
A majority of trades have a level of improvement that needs to be undertaken. But in saying that, the design of buildings is a contributing factor and a significant factor. And so even through, a lot of the teaching and training I've done, the design, when the design's incorrect, it doesn't matter how well you install a membrane or a tiling system. If the moisture in this particular case is not managed correctly, a failure is imminent. You couple that with the quality of building materials might not necessarily be to the same level of integrity that it used to be before. We've got high volume. Even if subbies are doing apprentices are, doing their apprenticeship to become a qualified tradesman or tradesperson, I should say. Where is the variety of their work through their apprenticeship? Sometimes they might only touch a particular element at trade school.
Yeah. Then
they get their formal qualification. Let's talk about sparkies or plumbers. I'm a qualified plumber, for example, and then they go on and become an A grade and may not have actually had the appropriate time in doing roof plumbing, for example. Roof plumbing is a huge issue in the industry. So it's across the board, mate, right from design to handover. So it's a systemic issue. And how do we go about fixing it? Well, I actually rate what the Building Commissioner's Office, which has been driven by, David Chandler up in New South Wales, going in heavy-handed. Some of the methods have some strong collateral damage, but you know what? We needed a kick in the arse.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been given. And I would like to see all states in Australia adopt a similar methodology to put people on notice that change is coming. Whether you like it or not, you need to start preparing for it now. For such a long time, I have heard that, oh, yeah, we hear this in legislation. We've heard, about national trade licensing. Oh, it will never happen. It will never happen. Well, I think things are starting to happen, and people need to wake up and be a part of the change and help fix one of the biggest industries in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there's a number of other trades that fall in around that space. And it would be great to see, because I know state by state, they all run a different guideline, right? Some may be a little bit similar, but then you have other states that, there's no licensing requirements at all or very little. And then you have the tiling trade, which doesn't have a licensing requirement broadly across the country. It's so yeah, there's a lot to consider. I meant to ask too beforehand, before we deep dive into this, that Byron, before construction, was there a thing? Was there another side to you before you jumped on in the construction trade?
I was a bit of a larrikin, I suppose.
Yeah,
still am to a degree, mate. Like most of us. Like me sports. Yeah, probably typical. To use a colloquial term, typical Aussie bloke who's like to knock about, and bit of maturity comes with age, mate. So
it does.
I probably never really had as much focus as what I do now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty lucky in the career that I've got now was sort of created for myself, really. That I've got a vision, and I help a lot of people significantly, and I get a big buzz out of that, and so I'm pretty focused and driven, to help other people.
Nice.
Maybe find a path what they want to do, and actually value what they do on the job. I think it's easy to get stuck into the tradie hours, 7 or 4. Just slot straight into it and sort of undervalue the importance of what you do out on the job. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So in a nutshell, mate, I don't really know how to answer that question. Just a knockabout bloke, mate. Got into the tools like that. Love the banter and, working. And I still do,
That's awesome.
I still love going out and meeting the tradies and helping them. And, I'll always have that in me. That will never go.
Yeah, you and I are the same. I really enjoy going out on site and speaking with guys. I mean, I'm probably more of that tiling stone focus, but the day job gives me that opportunity to go and spend some time out there and get the hands dirty. Yeah. And it's good. It's a lot of fun, and I've been doing it for 20 years. So, mate, great. Look, I just have a few questions here. I just want to go through today, and I'm sure that we'll unpack a heap of stuff. But I suppose. For me, waterproofing is obviously a critical component, right? Where do you think it's all gone wrong? Like, is there? Can we, like, how they say if you a problem well stated is a problem half solved?
Yeah.
Where did it go wrong? Like, is it the pace of building that we've had in Australia? Is it? I mean, I know we talk a lot about education, but what do you think has been the starting point for this? Destruction of quality work?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and it does have a multitude of answers. One of the key contributing factors is it requires a multi-staged inspection process for it to be done correctly.
Yep.
And the first part of that is the design review, which, there's some new legislation in New South Wales about, the Building and Design Practitioners Act. So where the designs must be verified by multiple parties, which is great. I know that's primarily focused around Class 2 apartment buildings, but I think we'll see a flow on for that into, all building classes, which is great. I suppose when if I use my personal experience as a yardstick, when waterproofing came out into, class 1 buildings, so your detached house, for example,
Yeah.
the most common phrase was open a bucket of blue shit and paint it on the wall. And I even used to say that. Okay, this is easy to do. I was getting me $50 a metre for tiling, which was quite good coin back then, 20 odd years ago down the coast. I was pretty lucky in the sense when I moved down there because there wasn't a plethora of tilers. So, but I, like most, started in the volume sector, when that sort of got introduced into the industry. And so right from the get-go, waterproofing was probably seen as something that didn't really need to happen and was quite undervalued, and anyone could do it. You just pull out a roller and a brush and away you go. It's not until I got into trade school as well where I started to identify how big the waterproofing industry is and how many different facets it has. And whether you install liquids, that's a specialised skill, sheet membrane, specialised skill. You're doing remedial repair work with crack injection, specialised. There's just, you could be specialist in all different aspects of waterproofing, and most don't have the awareness and the understanding that that's the case.
Yeah.
Product data has been lacking. It's now starting to catch up.
Okay.
But yeah, for a long period of time, we had technical data sheets that were actually more sales brochures.
Yeah.
Here's our product. Buy this product. And anyone can sell the product. Anyone can buy it and install it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need to show a license to buy these products.
Yeah.
So the technical data wasn't where it needs to be. A lot of manufacturers have caught up to speed with that now, and we actually help, manufacturers upgrade their technical data, verify competency.
Yeah, nice.
Right from testing in a lab, so that, the continual testing of products.
So that's an independent service?
So that is through waterproof awareness. We we do consulting work with that, with design as well, as much as the education.
Yep.
And the pace of build, 100%. Our time frames too fast, and we need to get it done. But waterproofing is quite scientific in its makeup, and it requires the appropriate amount of time and the substrates to be prepared correctly for them to work effectively.
Yeah.
So there's a whole multitude of elements that contribute to why we have significant failures.
Yeah.
And finally, if I haven't made people zone out already, the ability to get your qualification. We did see the tick and flick era come through where people got a Cert 3 overnight.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy.
No enforcement to attend meaningful trade school.
Yep.
To identify where your gaps are in your knowledge and what type of training you need to do to fill those gaps.
Yep.
So it's that's why I'm pretty passionate about what I do and the way I deliver my education. And, you can't do it on your own. And, I really value the opportunity to do podcasts like this and collaborate with guys like yourself, Mark, because we can only bridge the gap quicker working together.
100%, mate. I've sung that tune on just about every single episode since we launched the podcast mid to late last year, and it's so important to have a community talking about all of the things in the industry that create pain, whether it be for the tradesperson, the builder, and or the consumer. And it's usually the consumer that ends up paying through them not knowing and putting their trust and faith in others to do high quality work and not getting that outcome. And you see that more and more today. There's a whole bunch of people now jumping on social media, and they're they're not naming, but they're certainly putting out there some of the quality, some of the average quality work that's being done that's not in accordance with Australian standards.
100%.
And that's important. It's not to, and I think that's a positive thing that people are out there and have the courage to go and do that, because you're certainly making a name for yourself, but at the same time, you're also trying to improve the practices that should be getting used and aren't.
Yeah, definitely. So from a homeowner or a consumer's perspective, public awareness is a great thing, because you can inform, the public about the questions that they should be asking when they're engaging a builder or a subby.
Yep.
What I commonly see, is builders, there's a heavy reliance on the subby to be an expert, and they're not. Unfortunately, they might be really good at, using their hands and installing products, for example. But in terms of the technical compliance requirements, and I see it all the time with tilers, not installing water stop angles, instantly non-compliant.
Yep.
Instantly. And they've busted their ass to, do this premium tiling job.
Yep.
And at handover stage, you're going to start getting building inspectors coming in and saying, well, there's no angle there, that's non-compliant, you're going to have to rip it up and start again. That's a horrendous scenario to be in. And it's actually, and I've had to have these conversations, the thing I hate about the gig. I hate it.
Yep.
But the aftermath, from what I see through the leaky building syndrome with homeowners, committing suicide, just long-term depression, it ruins their lives in a lot of cases. It leaves a scar that never heals.
Yep.
And, we need to think about it in that light. It's no longer the great Australian dream. For a lot of people, it's a nightmare.
And it costs tens of thousands of dollars at a minimum. Some jobs can be six figures plus, depending upon the size of the project. But I've been fortunate and unfortunate to be in a very similar scenario when I worked for adhesive manufacturers for many, many years. And a big part of our job was going out doing technical reports for alleged job failures with adhesive systems on tongue and groove timber flooring, concrete substrates, fibre cement sheet substrates, you name it. There was a whole raft of things. And our job was to go out and, put all of the technical information together and send it back to the chemists to build a report based upon where they think the failure occurred. Yeah. And the looks on people's faces, that it's a costly exercise.
Oh, it's a costly exercise, and the thing that you can't measure, Mark, is the stress.
Yeah.
The psychological impact.
Yep.
So, we could definitely talk about this particular element, but it's not all doom and gloom,
Definitely.
So
no,
we need to work together, and part of it. And when I was on the tools, you couldn't tell me how to do anything. I was right all the time, and I didn't mind telling you. And but the reality is, and I have these. At times, they can be some challenging conversations. Right from builder to subby.
Yep.
It's not an opinion-based argument. It's like, if this goes to court, this is what the lawyers are going to use against you. And it's the codes, standards, manufacturer's specification.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they use as evidence. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get hung out to dry, and, a settlement is probably the best outcome. And that's a horrendous outcome for all parties.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, mates, I'd like to find out a little bit more about waterproof awareness. Can you tell me, tell us a little bit more about the waterproof awareness and your vision for the business, and how does that all work in your scope of operating?
Yeah, so waterproof awareness. Well, I was at trade school as a teacher at Melbourne Polytechnic. Spent a whole heap of time there, helping the guys down there with their Certificate 3 in construction waterproofing. The wall and floor tiling qual sort of stopped when we were there, which was unfortunate. But we yeah, and then it was a little bit of a treadmill for me. I was a bit of a lion in a cage, and I had to get out. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the outcomes, and teaching students, and in particular the immigrant students who had never done a qualification before, and
nice.
it's just a really good feeling, to help them get a qual. And just saw a big need to get out and sort of help people and provide waterproof awareness or waterproofing awareness. So I started a consulting business, got into assisting master builders of Victoria with their waterproofing courses that they run there, which are great courses.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for several years now. And then early on, I was sort of helping XTech Gen, which is a NADA accredited lab that's been set up in Australia now to test for compliance for waterproofing products and maybe tiling. I'm not sure exactly, what their full scope is, but got, into sort of doing some webinar stuff with them, and then through the webinar series, the Waterproofing Success webinar series, which really focuses on the key issues that we have in the industry and real life case studies, what's happening and how it should be done in accordance with the codes and standards.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the lowest uptake for people who attend these series are the tradies, and they're the ones who are doing the work.
Yep.
So
probably need it the
trying
most.
to attempt to come up with some new strategies to try and entice them this year. What's the vision? Fundamentally, I help the consumer navigate a leaky building issue, try to stop it from going to court, provide expert advice and consulting, along with design consultancy for builders, and active committee member for the Australian Institute of Waterproofing. So I really want to help grow that profile and be, the leading association for waterproofing guidance. So it's a bit of a well-rounded mix, mate.
Mixed bag.
Anyone can reach out to me, and if they've got a question or they need some advice right from subby to designer, then we can help them. Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, definitely a mixed bag, mate. It's good to absolutely fantastic to have people like yourself on the show and sharing your knowledge. So I appreciate that.
Thanks,
are you working on any projects at the moment? Anything going on that we should know about or we should share with the wider community?
Yeah, definitely. We got one of my big projects that I've been working on is a digital compliance tool called Industry Best Construction.
Yep.
That sort of probably flows on from the educational training, where it helps really manage quality on the job. And it's been designed fundamentally to train people while they're using the platform.
Yep.
And initially, we sort of based the template off wet area construction. So it allows the user to upload all of their documentation, communicate through the platform. We help create inspection test plans or checklists that are related to each aspect of the job. They can communicate and invite multiple parties to the platform and then spit out a job report or a compliance certificate.
Yeah, nice.
To create a holistic portfolio of evidence. So, when you were mentioning before about when you were working in the adhesive industry and you had to try and compile all of this information to work out what was going on, that is one of the dramas in the industry. So once we construct a building, if we haven't captured all of the critical stages in terms of evidence and how it's been done and why it's been done in that manner, what products were used, how long did it take, it's very hard to ascertain what the issue was, and we need to basically rip things up and start again.
Yeah.
So the platform itself is highly functional. I've trialled it personally on the job, got on the tools. My brother's on the tools as a waterproofer.
Yeah, nice.
We've rectified, a couple of really critical balcony construction rebuilds, not only limited to balconies, but we're trialling it extensively on the job. And we've engaged industry, and it's actually a digital platform built for construction it's going to be a game changer, mate. So
awesome.
We're going to be launching that pretty hard this year.
Excellent.
that'll sort of piggyback onto the training that we're providing, and it gives the subcontractor and the builder the level of support that they need to ensure they're going to achieve compliance and the longevity of the work that they're doing in the industry. And further to boot, the product manufacturer, they could say, mate, you've installed this as well as it can be done. So we can, verify that it's, you're competent or compliant. Awesome. So that's a big one, mate.
It's huge. How long have you been working on that for?
Idea stage would be 10 years.
Yeah, nice.
Actively working on it 4.
Yep.
There's been a few mistakes made along the way. Yep. It's but I feel we've probably made most of them now. I say that, cautiously, because I know the best way to learn is from your mistakes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm pretty pumped to get it out there, and it's going to be a good year, mate. Last year was a bit of a rough year. We had to sort of rebuild the architecture to get it functionally working sound, and we've done that now, and I really want to get it into as many waterproofing and tiling subcontractors' hands as possible.
Yeah.
Really pumped about that project, mate.
Well, mate, make sure you keep me plugged into all of the progress on that. I'm sure that the wider community at Tiling Connect would love to know about that. So be happy to give you guys a bit of a plug when that goes to launch stage, and let everyone know that it's available and who to contact. And of course, beyond today's recording, I'll put in the show notes all of your contact details. I mean, mate, what's the best way for people to reach out to you directly? Is it LinkedIn, or are there other methods?
So I've got a bit of a following on LinkedIn now. Waterproof awareness on LinkedIn is probably the easiest one. There's an industry best construction page as well, but probably through waterproof awareness still at this point in time.
Nice.
And then I'm on Instagram, waterproof awareness. I post a lot of videos about failures and, some technical stuff on there as well.
Yeah.
Facebook, most of your social media streams. I had one guy from, I'll give him a bit of a shout out, Dane up in Yamba. He found me on YouTube and
nice.
Bought my recorded webinar series, and, he's going to give the platform a burn. And,
nice.
Quite isolated out there in terms of having the ease and accessibility to get this type of information that we can provide. Yep. It's non-biased. It's no bullshit. There's no ego. We've created this type of training and the platform off the back of, the issues at hand, and they'll make a significant difference.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I love Yamba. Great little place up in
awesome.
Sort of central, not central, too central coast, but closer towards the Goldie. But it's a nice drive out there. Very, very peaceful.
It's a beautiful spot, mate. So I love it.
Well, mate, you've spoken. We've got a few minutes still left for today, so you've spoken very heavily about making mistakes. While we've got some time, mate, what do you think's been your biggest in your career that's got you where you are today?
The biggest mistake, probably, and we're not taught this, you probably learn this through making mistakes. It's having a clear vision and purpose on what you're trying to do, whether that's running a tiling business, waterproofing business, painting, whatever. What are you aiming at? And how you're going to get there, and how you're going to do what you're currently doing to help you get there. So I think, if I use, and I think if there's some tradies that are listening to this, you sort of, when I was on the tools, you get up in the morning, you don't really have a set plan. You just get up, check your phone, maybe ring one of your mates on the way to work, grab a coffee. If you live down the coast, and you're probably going to go check the surf.
Yeah.
And then you just roll into your day, and you're just flipping off curveballs off the hip as they come. And then it's sort of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And it's easy to go through and do that. And then you know, you wake up sort of 10 years later and you're still doing the same thing. I suppose that was probably a mistake that I was making without being aware.
Yep.
And to some people, they might say that's just a load of shit. I wasn't really good with money management either. But, you jump onto the tools. You never taught this stuff.
No.
So, you never taught, how to learn to run a business. You sort of just fall into it if you're a subby.
Yep.
You're lucky if you've got a good boss to learn off who can teach you the fundamentals. And it can be a slow progression to get where you want to go. So, sort of no continual learning, no plan. It's probably my biggest mistake for a large portion.
Yeah. Mate, that's it's an excellent share. Many people sort of reluctantly try not to share too much of their mistakes in their life because they're, maybe embarrassed or don't really want the outside world to know how they created what they've got, whatever that might be. But any successful person in any business or in any venture in life has come through a plethora of mistakes. That's how they got there. You look at some of the richest people in the world and some of the biggest entrepreneurs, and they've all at some point gone broke 2 or 3 times and lost their fortunes and had to rebuild and start again. But having that vision and that mission about how you want your business to behave and who you are is really important. So I appreciate you sharing that with me, mate. And look, today's been great. I really appreciate you jumping on the show, and I can't wait to actually get this out to the community before I head overseas. I'm shooting off to the Surfaces event in Vegas, mate. So I'm about
nice.
three days away from jumping on a plane and going and just immersing myself in flooring and power tool products for about 5 days. So
is that what they call a junket?
Yeah, you could say that.
Good play. It'd be that sounds awesome. And I've been to Vegas once, and it would be an amazing place to be a part of an event like that, and probably a little bit envious, mate. Or that'd be awesome if you get to go over there and make a heap of connections and showcase what you got. So
absolutely,
you, mate.
Absolutely, thanks. And mate, Byron, thanks again for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. Have a terrific rest of the week, mate, and can't wait to connect again.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mark, and look forward to catching up, and have a safe trip over in Vegas.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tiling Connect. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Tiling Connect, jump on our socials and follow us via LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. If you'd like to be part of the show, email us at tilingconnect@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected.